Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that we're in February still. Oh my gosh, just only 2 weeks ago we were finishing up January. So time flies. Hope you all are doing well and keeping up with your goals in this year and staying on track for everything. We have an amazing show today that I cannot wait to share with you. And you are not going to want to miss the show because but before we bring up our next guest, which is Nanette Thelemaque, she's been here before. Let me give you some questions to think about and some mindset today. Um, I have some really positive mindset tips for you. One is there are 3 tips on developing a positive money mindset and how do you overcome your limiting beliefs about money. Let's face it, we know money doesn't grow on trees. We know you have to earn it one way or the other. Could be passive or active, but let's face it, what is holding us back from it? There's some old beliefs that we need to get rid of. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to shift your money mindset beliefs. Oh my gosh, say that 20 times and not get tongue tied. So anyway, that's just my humor for today. But step 1 about shifting your mindset about money and creating a more positive belief around money, because let's face it, money buys things. It buys our freedom. It buys all of the things that we use. It buys our house. It buys our everything that we are. It buys my coffee mug from the Marketing Mindset Mastery shop. By the way, we're changing the logo for that. But long story short, you know, yes, we have to support our families. Yes, we have to supply those needs. But at the same time, what's holding us back from earning more? Okay, so let's go in a deep dive here and talk about how to shift this limiting money belief. Because I think once we make that mental shift, it's going to help us grow our business. Because my word for this year is growth. And that means income and also personal growth. Okay, so here's step 1. Recognize that your money block for what it is. You need to be able to take responsibility for your own incomes and start making and earning income, or money in this case. Stop telling yourself that you're not worth it. That's a common mental ping pong that I hear people from my students, from my clients, and from so many people that I talk to, that they don't think that they're not valuable. You are valuable. Okay. You need to start creating an abundance mindset in here, which is the belief that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to do, and whatever you want to work on, you can achieve. And let me tell you, if you want to have a bigger income this year, put that number down and write it down on the paper, set a date to it, and then figure out a plan to work on it. And if you need a write workbook, let me know. I will share that with you too. It's really going to help you get that accomplished. But you're going to have to put some time and effort into it. I wanted to hone in on that because first we got to recognize that mental block. So if your mental block is telling you just that you're not worth it or you're not valuable, stop telling yourself those messages and start creating an abundance mindset that says you can achieve anything you set your mind to doing, and putting in the work into it, you can achieve it. So do the can-do attitude. Okay. Just wanted to let you know that that's the biggest focus for today. Can-do attitude is really important for your mental shift, in your money mindset. Okay. Now, step 2, reframe your money belief. And instead of focusing on money as the focus of the value, focus more on valuing your time. Because let's face it, we have only 24 hours in the day. Well, except on leap year, I think we get an extra hour in there somewhere along the line. I think it's in February, get an extra day or something. But you get my drift. Normally, we only have 24 hours a day. And hopefully 7 or 8 of them you're sleeping. And at least 3 hours or at least 30 minutes for each meal, right? So you're going to have time where you're not going to have, and you want some family time and some fun time. You got to carve that out. Hopefully you're only working around 8 to 10 hours a day at the max. And hopefully you're down to 8 or less, right? Depending if you're working a job or your business. So that's the other focus really, is to make sure you have to emphasize more on time being the most valuable, because your time is really very valuable, because anything you're doing and focusing on is taking away from your family. So look at it from that perspective. Time is more valuable than money. Money is a result from the time that you spent doing something that was income producing. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. Step 3, you want to make sure that you get a handle on your budget. You want to make sure that your money is accounted for. So you want to make sure you track your income and expenses and find ways where you can keep a handle on your money. Because let's face it, money doesn't grow on trees. Though technically the paper does, comes from that probably. But the long story short of it is that there isn't a money tree out there where you can go and shake it and it comes down and falls all over you and rains on you. It doesn't quite look like that, though we would love for it to do that in most cases. But and then not everybody wins the lottery, let's face it. So you really kind of need to be wary of your budget and make sure that you don't overspend. And that means cutting back on some of your expenses. So that was so funny because Nanette and I were talking about something like that behind the scenes and how she was carving out her budget for certain things and cutting back on some of her expenses. And I won't get into details unless she wants to. But anyway, that's sort of an example right there. Is doesn't matter how big you get, you still need to cut back on your expenses because you'll be able to afford what your cost of living, right? You have to keep that in mind. So really quickly to recap about how to make your overcoming your limiting beliefs about money and making those mental shifts. And that is 1, recognize what is blocking you mentally about money and flipping that attitude towards it. And then also reframing your money belief and where you focus on it, because what you focus on is what you're going to get, right? So you rather have focus more on the time aspect and how valuable your time is, right? Instead of focusing on the money value. And then number 3, learn to budget and track your income and expenses so that you can stay focused on other things instead of worrying about not having enough. So that is my 3 tips on making a money mindset shift. And I hope that really helps. It's not about what you did or didn't do. It's about literally changing your mindset and focusing on getting that done. So anyway, and the key point is let's focus on growing our businesses this year and earning more income so we can out earn the problem. So, and then I think that is a good focus. So anyway, so my offer for you today is that you have a free business assessment that includes a quick 30-minute call where we can just kind of review where you're at. And if you have any questions about your money mindset, we can certainly discuss that too. So check that out. We're going to have this topic that we talked about in a blog post for that this week's coming next week, the next email that we're going to be sending out to our list. So if you want to get on that list, we'll be sending the link out in YouTube for next week. So it usually release it every Wednesday. So occasionally we switch it to a Thursday, but generally we release it every Wednesday. So, so you get these recordings and stuff too after a week after in the email, but you can look at it on our YouTube channel right up front. And as soon as the day of, I schedule it out the day Wednesday on Thursdays. I get it out right after the show. So long story short, you are going to have so much fun in the Marketing Mindset Mastery podcast today with our guest this week, Nanette Thelemaque, and she is an entrepreneur and a business owner from the United States in the state of New Hampshire, which is one of my favorite states because I used to go up there in New Hampshire, Bristol, New Hampshire, and hang out in Newfound Lake. Oh my gosh, pretty lake. Loved being out there. And then Nanette's not in that area. She's a little bit in a different part of New Hampshire, but New Hampshire is such a beautiful state altogether. So great group of people to hang out with too as well. But Nanette is the owner of InEssence Virtual Assistant, and today's topic is on the growth mindset. So this correlates quite well with my topic as well. So let's bring out our guest and take it away. Come on down. Come on down, Nanette. Let's take it away. I just introduced you, and I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. Is it Thelemaque? I'm hoping I've got it. Thelemaque. Oh my gosh, like telegraph, almost. But yeah. So I had to do those numeric devices to remember people's names. So I apologize if I butchered your name today. So
I'm
gonna get that one of these days. But oh my goodness, I was talking about the 3 money mindset. What's the word I'm looking for? I haven't. The 3 money mindset limiting beliefs that people have, and how to make those mental
mindset.
Shifts.
Yes.
And I was talking about how we just recognize your money mind blocks and making sure we make those positive shifts and the can-do attitude. And then also reframing how we look at it, view money, like from, money being the focus to maybe your time being more the valuable, because that's really what people seem to disconnect there. And it's also talking about learning how to create a really good budget on your income and expenses. So I just literally just recapped it again. But anyway, so the point is we really just need to out-earn the problem, the long story short of it. And I just thought it's a good sort of precursor or prelude or introduction to what we're going to talk about today, which is developing the growth mindset for your business. And there's 5 mindset traps to avoid. And I didn't say the mindset traps. I just said, these are some tips that we can help you overcome. So I think they kind of will correlate in a sense. And I thought, I really think through my tips and how it will relate to my speaker's topic so that they can make some connections somewhere along the line. So I'm so excited about it. So let's dive on into our topic, because you've been on the show before, correct? I think
No, this is my first time.
First time?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So let me ask you one of my starting questions then before we dive into the topic. What is it that got you started in your business? And because you have business called InEssence Virtual Assistant. So tell us a little bit about what you do in that company, and then how you got started in it and so forth. And then we'll dive into the money concept.
Sure. Okay. So how did I get started with InEssence? Okay. Well, it's always been in the back burner of my mind, virtual assistants, because since the 90s, because I heard it and I was in between jobs at the time. I was laid off. And so I thought that's to be viable as a single mother, something I should look into. So I did a lot of investigation and what it would entail and what it would do, but I didn't do anything with it. I did get a job, so that became my focus. But there was always in the back of my mind, especially when you're working in an environment where you have all these bad managers or bad, situations that you're working under, and you're saying,
toxic relationships.
Exactly. And you're thinking to yourself, man, I could just work for myself. I would love to be able to do that. And so that was always in the back of my mind. But, I went from channel sales roles to marketing roles and marketing support to administrative and office management roles in my career. And I think that when I got a job at a college working in the office there, and I was doing so many different things. I was considered a career development associate, where I was helping with companies coming in trying to recruit MBAs. I was in a perfect place because, MBA schools, they're teaching you how to run a business. So I was taking advantage of everything I could learn while I was working there. And that came to my benefit when I decided I wanted to try to start a side business of this virtual assistant thing. I finally bit the bullet and said I'd do it. And the whole idea was that I was going to do it until as a side business until I retired, and then run it full time in retirement. But of course, life doesn't always go the way you want.
Nope.
And
You're always making pivots along the way.
always just expect them. If you think that things go to plan, that you have to be able to pivot at every moment. And things, as I got older, things kind of changed in the office. It became a wonderful, nurturing environment to one of stress, to one where I was treated with ageism by some of the people in my department, which was really hard for me. So I left that job and I took another job. But unfortunately, in that position, the supervisor there found out that I had a side business, even though it didn't interfere. It's not like I was doing anything at the job. She just heard about it from someone.
Or taking
And then
away from them either, right?
it wasn't at all.
Wasn't
Right.
interfering. Yeah.
No, I make sure of that. And the other job, even though I was facing race ageism in that place, they knew I had a side business and it didn't bother them because it was an MBA school. They expect that, that they think that's great. But she didn't, and so she gave me an ultimatum of leaving, and then I could reapply at the business at another department, or she would let me go. And I was like, oh, really? So it was at that moment, sitting outside, thinking to myself, how am I going to tell my husband I lost my job, I resigned? How am I going to do this? And that it hit me. This is the time to just bite the bullet and go full time. And it came at a great point because my mother was dying. She had incurable liver disease and my brother, who had brought them down to live near him because they came from San Francisco to Palm Springs where he lived, he bought a condo for them to live out the rest of their lives. And when we got the diagnosis that she was dying, he realized that he couldn't really help them because he worked from home. His wife is a director of a college, of a department in a college, and so they needed help. I, just losing my job, building my career and my entrepreneurial job at the moment, had the freedom to go there and spend 6 weeks helping my father with funeral arrangements and taking care of my mother while she was declining. Things of that nature. So I was able to do that, and it wasn't, so it was almost fortuitous, and everything kind of
silver
aligned.
lining. It was a silver
Right.
lining, even
Right.
though it was not the most best of times, but
Right.
it gave you that opportunity to help your family
Exactly.
when they really needed it, and it gave you
Right.
the flexibility to do your business still, but around their schedule, which is
Around their schedule.
why we do business in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I had a couple of clients, and I was able to work it out where I get up extra early and do things in the morning, take care of my mother in the afternoon, and in between, work, in between the day. So it worked out. So since then, I was building my business, and that's what got me started in it. But I always wanted to work for myself. I can't tell you how many bad managers I had in my past, and being able to control my destiny and control what I knew I can contribute to someone, and not have someone tell me what to do, was really the motivating factor.
Well, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that story because, I mean, as we get older in life, we're going to deal with aging parents and
Sure.
illnesses and
Sure.
deaths and life situations that are beyond our control.
Right.
And it's important to be able to have that flexibility to take care of our family. Because let's face it, one thing 2020 taught us was how important our health is, but also how important people are. It's more
That's right.
important than material things. It's more important than a business in some ways. And I think that brought us more awareness. And I think that's what's making a difference. I think it's in 2022 is people are being much more self-conscious about that. So
Right.
so if anything, your story illustrated the point of how important it is to build your own business around your family schedule and not do your business and not the reverse,
Right.
because it's so easy to fall into the trap of working all the time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
You're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to learn. I never ran a business. My parents have run businesses on the side, but I saw how hard it was for them. Um,
and
but
they didn't have half the tools that we have now, even.
no,
Or, I
no,
mean, the things that we have now in place um,
yeah,
wasn't around when your parents
no,
probably built a business. So you've got
no,
advantages to save time in a sense. So um,
exactly.
this is like the best time to be building a business right now.
It really is. I mean, with everybody in flux, some people not wanting to work in the office anymore, or any of that nature. I mean, it's things have changed, and we jumped into it way before COVID even made it acceptable. Um,
Yeah, I started mine.
yeah,
I think I started the concept in 2017 for mine, and I
yeah,
started launching it in 2018. So that
yeah,
was 3 years before, and I started telling people about it, and only a small percentage, even back then, still
yeah,
understood whatever. They kind of knew
exactly.
the concept. They didn't know what it does.
Right,
They didn't really understand it until people started being more and more at home, and then it started becoming a
right,
more popular. People really realized the benefits of
right.
that, and some companies are
Yeah,
still doing just on from working from home positions for uh,
sure.
saving money. It
Because they
costs money.
realize for them it saves them money in terms of
Mhm.
having someone in the office and what that cost. And then they realize, I think if anything, COVID, what it did for people like us is show that, yeah, work can get done. Things don't stop when you're working from home. You don't need to micromanage somebody, that there are people who have good work ethics and know what to do and can do it.
Right. And you just have to be able to sift through the people enough and be able to really learn to screen them properly and vet them properly. And they're out there. They're not a dime a dozen. There's actually more people with good ethics than there are. There's only a
That's right.
handful of bad apples, but unfortunately
Mhm.
the bad apples spoil the bunch. So we just
That's
have to
true.
remember, keep that in mind that, the good ones are out there. You just have to keep
Yeah.
looking. So that's our encouragement for you today. So anyway, for those who are looking for a virtual assistants, talk to Nanette. She might have some ideas. I might have some ideas because I got people in my business coaching academy that are really good at what they're doing, and they've been in business for at least a year, if not 2 years, some of them more. So if you need
Right.
something, let me know. We can hook you up. So that's our little tip for today. So anyway, that's our little prelude for the day.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, one of the biggest goals I have every year, I have a phrase and a goal. So like a motto and a goal that I have and I set for myself for the year. And my motto is you do you in 22, because let's face it, you,
Right.
we have to be individuals, right? We all can't fit the same mold. And then the other word I had is growth, which is perfect for what we're talking about because I really want to grow my business this year. And but it's all about a mindset, right? It's all about how you view things. So I want to ask you, and I'm going to dive into it and to this particular topic for today, and that
Mhm.
is, what are we talking about when we say the word or words growth mindset? Because there's a certain concept I want people to understand, and there's a couple
Right.
of couple of concepts we're going to talk about.
Sure.
So you asked me, I'm just
Yeah.
going to dive into that today.
Sure. Well, first off, it's how you think. Okay. How do you think about yourself and your place in the world around you? It's working on breaking the chain of limited thoughts and about who you are and all you could be. And it's learning how to embrace challenges, struggles, and criticisms um, that can cause setbacks, and use those as a source of growth. Being honest and hearing, is this valuable, criticism, or is this just bashing? Is this, am I doing this to myself? How's my thinking? Am I thinking, do I have a script in my head that's putting me down? Um, those are things that's what I'm talking about a growth mindset. These things will stop you in your tracks, can make it harder for you to move forward, and so that's what I mean by growth. That's what I mean by mindset, growth mindset. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. And it's spot on because a lot of people play those what if stories and why am I not growing and what if I did this? And it's not about making so many pivots because you got to find something and stick with it. But what it
Right,
is you just got to change how you view things and not let the people who criticize you let not their limiting beliefs don't take that onto yourself. You know what I mean? You got
right,
to let their criticisms go. And that's
right.
something I had to learn to do is not focus so much on what they think is negative. Because what I learned is when people are bashing you or criticizing you, sometimes it's constructive
Yes.
and it's helpful. But
Mhm,
when it gets to be belittling and berating, that's
mhm.
not helpful. And
No,
so you have to learn to sift that fine line
right,
between what is necessary to change. Like I like
right.
feedback that's encouraging, but still necessary. I don't like someone telling me, "Oh, you're never going to amount to anything." Yeah, wrong limiting
Of
belief.
course not. No one
Oh my gosh,
does.
really? I mean, I've had
Yeah.
a few people say that over the years, and I'm like, well, look at me
Really?
now. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've had people say things like, "You're never going to make it in that business. You should just quit." And it wasn't even just this business; it was other things I was doing at the time. And I'm like, why would you tell somebody that? I mean, that just
There are
is
people who do
cutting
that.
cutting
Yeah.
their dreams down. And I'm really like,
Yeah.
you don't do that to people if you want
Right.
them to succeed. So
Right.
remember, if someone is criticizing you and bashing you and belittling you, it's because they have their own limiting beliefs inside
Hmm.
themselves.
Hmm.
And they're projecting it on you because they want to look out for you in their best
Right.
interest. But really, they're
Right.
looking out for their own best interest. And
Exactly.
that's my perspective.
Exactly. I
I
don't
was
think it is just your
okay.
perspective. I think you're right. I
Okay,
think you're
just making
absolutely
sure I
onto
was on
it.
the I think I was making sure I was on the right track there, but that's my experience of what I've learned. People like well-meaning people in my own family are like, "Oh, why are you doing that business? You're not making enough money." Is it
Yeah.
really
Right.
me or time? Is it
Right.
me being available in case somebody has an emergency worth it? And I'm still making a part-time income. So it's not
Right.
like I'm not bringing stuff in.
Right.
It's being allocated back into my business. So
Right.
it's not helping and support the family yet, but it will if once I get it rolling again. And it's
Right.
just it has it's almost like the stock market. It goes up or down.
That's right.
But
It's
go ahead.
it takes time to get somewhere, and so you need people to recognize that, and if they don't understand, then you have to be able to be strong and say, okay, you don't understand what I'm trying to do, but I appreciate if you just, if you can't give me any constructive criticism, ideas or something, then I don't want to hear that. I just don't.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And sometimes you have to sit there and filter what people say so that you're not and as an empathic person and very
Hmm.
intuitive on top of that,
Hmm.
it can sometimes be more hurtful. And what I've
Sure.
had to learn to do, like I said, is have to remember if they're criticizing something, then somewhere along the line, the truth is about themselves and not really about you. And maybe an ounce of it might be true. And they're twisting it to make it sound
Right.
like it's you. So
Right.
keep that in mind when you're dealing with criticisms and belittlings and belief and bashing. It's really not all about you. It's about them and they're
Right.
projecting it on you. So
Exactly.
that's exactly one of the things we need to make clear to our audiences because you need to make sure that that's understood. So
Right.
so the next thing I wanted to ask is, which brings up this question, what's the difference between growth mindset and a fixed mindset? Because I've
Right.
not quite heard the term till you mentioned the fixed mindset. So that's kind of an
Oh,
interesting.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's new to
Well,
me.
well, it's the difference between how your thinking processes are. And one thing I will go back to say is that when somebody's saying something like you had mentioned before, or saying, you're not making enough, why are you doing this, or anything of that nature, it's really about how you see yourself. You know, you have to have confidence in yourself. That then these things don't affect you. What people say, because you can see that it's really them and it's not you. You know what I mean? So if so, the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is, in the fixed mindset, you're you're your own worst enemy, kind of. I want to say you tend to think that you can't grow, you can't learn, that what you know now is what you'll probably always know. So the idea that you could expand your mind to new thoughts and then implement them is something that's scary or something that you think you can't do. Um, you think, learning something, trying to figure something out is just a waste of time. You rationalize what, when something goes wrong, you have a lot of rationalization. You think, it's not worth it. Or I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to work that hard because this is just too hard. Those are all fixed mindsets. It's the belief that skills and intellect and talents are set and unchangeable. Whereas a growth mindset is that you're constantly reviewing yourself, your thought processes, your talents. You know that you can get better at something. You really try to understand who you are and try to be as authentic as you can. You practice, you know, to for a
Improve.
personal development to improve yourself, and you absolutely have perseverance. Like, and it's okay to be unsure about something, but what are you going to do about it? And if you have the growth mindset, you say, well, I'm going to try to learn that. I'm going to try to learn how to do that. And you don't get upset with a failure. A failure just teaches you something. It teaches you to be better at something going forward. So you think to yourself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What could how can I improve myself so that that mistake never happens again? That's a growth mindset.
Mhm. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
failure isn't fatal. I mean, unless you're like on the operating table and something happens and someone dies, that's fatal.
Right.
But anything else in business, generally speaking,
Hmm.
is not fatal. It's something where it can be fixed and adjusted and worked out with the proper
Well, one
tools
thing,
process. Yeah.
right, right, right. But one thing I will say is, like, a lot of people talk about the two differences. The thing is that it's not a if or,
Right.
you could be, it's not a dichotomy, it's more of a continuum. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I I may be good at a certain thing, really good and confident. Nobody can tell me, you know, much that I don't know about that. And I give great advice and I help people out, but there may be something else that I'm not so great at. Maybe interpersonal skills or bookkeeping, like me. Bookkeeping is not my
And
forte, nor do I
totally
ever want
get
it to
it.
be my forte. So if somebody criticizes me about my numbers, I perfectly fine with that because I'm not going to be good at that. I
You
could
own
work.
that. You own
I
the fact that that's not your strength, right?
Exactly. I do the best I can. I practice and I learn from it, and I'm better than I probably was years ago. But that's not my forte, and that's not something that I want to. So when it comes to growth sets and fixed sets, they're not they're a continuum. So you may be good in one thing and not so good at another thing. And so it really depends on what it is. So
It's a great example of that is my business partner is really good at WordPress development and design and even word and copy.
right.
And so he's great at that. Until I started working with him 3 years ago, I knew nothing about that. I was starting
Mhm.
off with a Wix website because it was templated. I didn't know have to know code, and I didn't, but I still was very wordy in my copy. But
Yeah.
after making several pivots, and then he convinced me, almost arm wrestled me, but really convinced me,
Right.
let's go to WordPress. It was also a lot more of a money saver. I saved like a third on that website of what I was doing on Wix. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
And even on the domain, I've saved money. So for a year, so it just was so much easier. And
Right.
then he taught me. At first, he didn't think I was that interested in learning. And says, I think I'm willing to learn it, but I have to do it in bite-sized chunks because it's over
Right.
my head otherwise, because it's
Right.
not my area of expertise
Right.
or my main focus. But I want to have some independence because when he gets busy, I like to be able to go in and, oh, I need to fix this, and
Right. And know what
or
to do.
update that. Yeah, and know what to
Mhm.
do. So he's been
Right.
teaching me bit by bit for the last 8 or 9 months, and we're gonna go and have some more learning sessions this week too. But I'm like, he's been teaching me little by little and chunks of time, and I go in and apply it, and I don't worry about whether or not I do it right, because he told me he will go in and fix it or help me fix it and walk
Right.
me. depths, because the key thing is if you don't practice whatever it is that you learn, what's the point of learning it? Because
That's
you're
right.
it's not going to do you any good if it just sits there in the back of your head. So you need
No.
to be able to apply what you learn. I mean, I don't know if you would agree to that, but I mean,
Oh,
and
of course.
yeah, and you have some great examples of your bookkeeping skills too. I don't know if you want to share that, but because I'm just sort of weaving it into that, but
Oh, I don't know about that.
I wanted to give you
But
my example because first, but yeah, but you have
yeah,
some great examples of
but
that.
when I was working, when I was learning, when I was very young, I took a bookkeeping job, knew nothing about it. Um, but I took it because I was trying to grow my skill sets. And it's so funny. I was a doctor's office, and the doctor came over and says, we really like you, Nanette. You have so many other skills, but bookkeeping's not one, and we don't want you to do it anymore. And we were really, fighting how we don't want to fire you. So we're going to make you an assistant to me when I'm in the office and let somebody else do the bookkeeping. And I was like, okay. So, but through the years, I watched other people. I took lessons. What's the best practices and things like that. And I do have some clients I do bookkeeping for now. But the thing is that the difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset is that like I said before, it's a continuum. So you're in different stages of these different areas of your life, from fixed to low growth to mid growth to high. So I'm probably low growth to mid growth in bookkeeping, but I'm high in video editing. I'm high in digital marketing. I like those. So one thing you have to remember is that whatever you're challenged on, that it involves a small progressive shifts in our thinking, rather than expecting high leaps
Right.
it's just a slow
You
progress.
can't go
Now,
into an expert level when you're just beginning to learn something.
no,
It's
no,
not a good expectation. You've got to be able
no,
to learn to do it gradually at different stages and know that
right.
it's okay to be starting at the bottom somewhere when you're learning something new. That's sort of a perspective there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's
Speaking of which, I
important.
need to learn video editing. You and I need to talk.
Oh, I love it. I do love it. I love doing it, and I'm still learning it, I mean, but I train myself. Always set aside time for training for all these things. Not that I'm going to do it because my team, I have worked with teams that have that experience, but that doesn't mean I don't want to know it. It's important for me to know. So I know what's right, what isn't, what they're thinking, and it's teaching me. So it helps me to manage them and as well. So, it's important to assess your growth, analyzing and breaking down, you know, uh, your mindset helps you uncover, what's holding you back, and how you can better yourself, not only for yourself, but for the people around you.
No,
It's
that's
not just,
brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah. No, and you're right about the people around you too. You were going to say that because
yeah,
yeah, you have to be able to, if you're going to have skills and offered on your business. Yes, it's great to outsource the things you're not strong in, but you should have at
hmm
least some basic foundation of what it
hmm
is so that
hmm
you can train them. And then what you can do is you can train them and they can own that space. Mostly you just have to train your processes. They should
right,
already know the skill. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, that's a good point. And that's something I think people seem to have a problem remembering is when you outsource a skill that you're not good at, make sure, like I said, you have a good foundation of the
yes,
concept before you outsource it. Because
yeah.
otherwise you can't tell them and instruct them what they need to do without it. Does that
But
make sense?
also,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. But also, if they already have the experience, they may have a different viewpoint than you, which is great. But that's what collaboration is so good about. But with your foundation, you're able to see, does that work best in this situation? If you don't know and you're trusting them to do it, and it doesn't work out for your client, then you're the one who's going to have to deal with that. So, I mean, having that foundation allows you to see, make sure that what they're thinking aligns with the client, and you need that. You need to have that foundation.
No, that's brilliant. And that's a good point. I just thought since you brought it up, it might be a good point to make because I know sometimes when we're bringing on people onto our teams, or outsourcing it to like, I don't know. There's so many places to outsource to now, so it's
Mhm.
hard to name them
Right.
all. But I'm just saying,
Right.
like, I think it's important that we keep in mind that they need to have the skill sets in place so they can own that, whatever it
Right.
is, tasks that you can, and you have to be willing to let go of those tasks. Like you were saying to me
Right.
earlier in the show, some tasks you just have to be willing to say, you own it, you run with it. Here's my process to follow. And then that
Right.
way they can just roll with it without you having to put too much training and effort into it. So
Right.
brilliantly said. So the
Thank you.
next question that brings up to mind, because we talked about, earlier we talked about some mindset traps. And I was
Mhm.
wondering, can you share about 5 mindset traps to avoid? And then we're going to get to your action steps that my audience can apply. And then we'll do your gift. And then that will wrap up the show. So it's
Okay, sure.
as simple as that. We've talked so much. I can't believe how long we're talking already. It's been a great
Yeah.
conversation. So,
Oh, great.
so but anyway, so what are the 5 mindset traps that we can avoid is what you're
Yeah, fear, it's easy to get trapped in the fear of failure, which stops you from moving forward. I'm not sure if I can do this. Let me tell you something. Everybody, no matter how experienced they are, will have those feelings. It's not exclusive to you. If you're just coming into the world of entrepreneurship and business, everybody has those feelings, but you can't let them hold you back. You can't think about the if, ands, or buts. That you just need to make sure that you work on your plan and implement it. And you, just like when you're doing social media and you're doing analytics to see if it's working or not, you do that for yourself. Is this working? What am I missing? Do I need to take a training course on something specific to make me better? That's what you do. And don't worry about failure. Just know failure is going to happen at some point, somewhere, many times. But they're learning processes for you. They're teaching you how to be better. That's what they are. And just leave them alone. The opposite of failure is success. You know what? When you're successful, all of a sudden you get scared. What if I mess it up? What if what does it mean to have the success? All of a sudden, the stress of being perfect becomes in, and you don't want to do that to yourself. Nobody's perfect. So as long as you put good processes in place, then that's that will help you. That's your fallback. And thinking too hard on certain things. How many times have we gone down the rabbit hole of that? So
guilty.
yeah, exactly. Don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. Really, I find myself doing that and have to pull myself back. Now, wait a minute, I'm making this too difficult than it needs to be. So don't, think too hard on things. If you need to bounce something off of somebody, then do that. And the imposter syndrome, how many of us have that? How do
That
you
is
feel
like the
about yourself?
number one thing I think
Mm,
my students come across is what you
right.
just said before, like, and
Yeah.
then the imposter syndrome. Those are the 2 top mental ping pongs I
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
constantly.
You
So
feel like
yeah,
you're fake, you like, but that's not
fake it till
true.
you make it.
Yeah, let's fake it till you make it. I mean, if that works for you, if that gets you motivated to move forward, you say, I'm gonna fake it till I make it and handle it that way. That's fine if but know that you know more than you think. And you know more than you realize. And so to you, what I would say to that is what Winnie the Pooh used to say to Christopher, and I love Winnie the Pooh. I grew up with that book.
Me
You're
too.
braver than you believe, you're stronger than you seem, and you're smarter than you think. So it's not, don't think you're not an imposter. You're who you are. Just own your authentic self and know, yeah, I have weaknesses in certain parts, but I'm going to work on those and I'm going to get better at that. You know, and thinking you have time, manage your time. Everybody thinks they have too much time. Um, you know, um, if you think that, oh, I can do that later, or I'll train myself later on that, I got time for that. Don't do that to yourself. That's not true. So really manage your time well and always set aside time for learning, personal development, training, skill sets. Those things are important, and make them a part of your day, your week.
No,
And
that's
I
perfect.
I would ask, I think you should ask yourself questions, like, on a daily basis. What would be at the end of your day, maybe, or maybe the beginning of the day? I don't know, like how things went yesterday, but what would be a better way to think right now for yourself? And what do I keep saying yes to when I really mean no? And what belief better serves my vision? Really know these things. What do I need to know about this situation to help me move forward? And who can I talk to? Everybody needs somebody they can bounce things off to. Who can I talk to who might help with this, who has a better experience or training on it that could help assist me? What else is possible? And what do I really want? Which is, to me, the most important part. Know what you really want. That's how you know how to go forward.
Brilliant. No, I loved it. You were on a roll. It was perfect. And I love it how you said, be your authentic self. So that was really good. But also really knowing what you want. What I always tell my clients that whatever they decide to do, whether they decide to do a workshop, a summit, a podcast, whatever it is, they need to have the end result in mind. So if you're doing marketing, you need to know the end result. It's like setting a goal for yourself in some
Right.
way, but in some ways
Right.
it's more of where do you want them to work with you at the end as well. So really be clear on that. And once you're clear on that, you could fill in the missing pieces, getting the help from to brainstorm. And we have so many people you can do that. I also do a lot of brainstorming sessions with people and find it really, people are like, I'm so much clearer, which is always the result I want is that they are
Yeah.
clear,
Yeah.
but so it works out great when it works that way. But it's just I geek out of that process, the brainstorming process, like my favorite. Um, that's why I like doing the planning, like that planning,
Yeah.
because I like those ideas and be able to help them take the concept and put it into reality. And then we can always fine tune it later. But you got to get going and get it figured out first.
Right.
But don't spend too much time um playing the mental ping pong games like the
Yeah.
imposter syndromes and stuff like that
Yeah.
you were saying, because if that's
Yeah.
what's gonna hold you back from starting something, whether it's a podcast, webinar, workshop, or even a business or anything that you
Right.
decide that you want to do. And
Right.
if you're listening to those negative uh,
Mhm.
uh what's the word, negative stories that are either in your head or
Scripts.
someone's
Yeah.
telling you the scripts or someone telling it to you, you need to
Hmm.
take your little switch off button, hit the off button and turn them off and then flip them around to the positive
Right.
and say, and give it
Right.
that can do attitude, which I believe is a good summary of what we just said over this
Right.
show.
I
Yeah.
mean, easily. I mean, think about something that you did well and you were so proud of yourself for.
Yeah.
That's when you have those negative scripts running through your head, that's when you stop and think
Mhm.
about all your accomplishments.
Exactly. And remember, you are good enough with what you're doing. You just
Mhm.
have to sit there and surround yourself with other people too. It doesn't mean you cannot love the people that are negative, but what you do is you surround yourself with people who are positive and can give you that positive influence and that help that you might need to make those switches if you need to, and
That's
give you
right.
some feedback that's going to be helpful and not hurtful, because the ones you want to be able to create that community, a supportive community. And I
Right.
actually have a business mindset. I'm a business mindset coach, and I don't say that very often on the show, but I need to.
Mhm.
But long story short, I have built a community of people who are very supportive of each other. And Nanette, I'd love for you to teach in my group, by the way. I always
Oh,
encourage
thank
my
you.
speakers to come and teach in my group because I have a leadership group now. And I
Okay.
have a beginners group, I have an advanced group, and the advanced group is a certificate group. And
Uh-huh.
then the leadership is just more of focusing on building those leadership leaders up. And I bring in
Right.
monthly guest speakers
Right.
to help sew into their mindset and
Right.
helping them make some shifts in their beliefs and stuff. So I really want to mention that if you need a support system, we help each other with our accountability. We help give feedback, positive, encouraging feedback, not just the negative Nelly stuff.
Right.
We really give it like constructively and to make sure that we understand what you're and to clarify and to be constructive, because we want you to
Mhm.
grow and support you, and we also want you to succeed, because if you don't succeed, my
That's good.
program's a failure basically. And I don't want
Right.
I want so far, everybody who has been in my business has had great success with it, and
That's good.
really love the working with them. So I wanted to let the people know there is a community. It's a non-judgmental community. We're all business owners. Most of us are virtual assistants, but some do other things too.
Mhm.
And we're really there to help support each other and lift each other up and encourage each other. And we focus on our wins, our questions, our goals, and our rewards.
Right.
And simple rewards. Nothing frivolous. So the long story short is there are communities out there. There you have Facebook communities and other communities that can help
Sure.
support you too. That's what I'm saying. Build yourself a community of supportive people and that
Right.
are positive, joyful, uplifting, encouraging, and in non-judgmental so that you can also have that positive what's the word? Positive mindset.
Right.
So anyway, so I just wanted to let you know that information. So
Mhm.
it's out there. So please, it's called Strategy Lady Academy. And if anyone wants to connect with me, just schedule a call with me on calendly.com/Marie V. Mason. And let's talk about how our business academy can help you grow your business and create that clarity for you and get you over these fears. Because that's one of the things we do.
Mhm.
We talk a lot about mindset shifts there too, as well as
Right.
helping you narrow down your niche and other aspects of the business. So
Right.
that's something I wanted to ask you. But you have a wonderful offer as well for our audience. And I'd love for you. And before we get into that, what is the number one action step to give to our audience so that they can apply it to their business? Is there some tips you want to share first? And then we'll go
Yeah,
into
sure.
the gift. Yeah,
Okay. Well, the action steps is to recognize your ability to improve and to grow in the long term, and practice positive self tasks to motivate yourself to overcome, obstacles and challenges, and take the time to celebrate your growth process rather than simply celebrating your results. You know, think about where you started, where you are now, and the possibility of where you can go in the future, and view challenges. This is so important. View challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than permanent barriers or to make you nervous, upset, or afraid to move forward. These are just challenges, of growth, and think of it that way. And try new things and actively seek fresh experiences that may enrich your life professionally and personally. One thing that I think the most important tip I would give, which I've started doing, and it's become so important in the start of my whole day and my whole outlook on no matter how things goes, is that I start my morning meditating and running through affirmations about myself. You know, I'm a good person. I have, I take care of my body. I eat well. I say a string of good, affirmative, positive things to start my day, and I meditate. I meditate about how, that I can't control other people. I can only control
exactly.
me
Yep.
and how I see the world and how I tackle issues. And how I choose to react to certain things. I'm the only one, I'm in control of me. And that's how I start my day in the positive aspect. So even though the day may blow up with all kinds of emergencies and things that come up that I didn't expect, and it's tiresome and it's stressful, at least I have that foundation that I'm going to handle it. It'll be okay. And if I have to take a break from a stressful day just to recenter myself, then that's what I will do. And because it's called taking care of the self.
Brilliant. No, and perfect because that's sort of one of the things that anybody who is successful has 5 daily habits, and that's the perfect way of ending today's session in a sense. Because what are your 5 daily habits of growing your business or helping take care or self care for yourself or something that's important to you? And I love the positive affirmations, and then in and the viewpoints and not reacting. So yeah, that was
Right.
spot on. So let's go ahead and start wrapping up because we're almost at the top of the hour. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it's been so long already. But you just mentioned to me earlier that you had a gift to share with our audience. Would you like to share that?
Well, I always think that having the infographic of the growth mindset readily available can remind you when you're doing something in the fixed mindset mode, So having I have an offer of just, that poster to keep on your computer or to print it out and put it on your wall or your black, your whiteboard to remind yourself of what is a growth mindset, to remind yourself, am I doing these things? And to look at the fixed mindset. Am I restricting myself? Am I being negative? So anybody's who would like to have that, I'm open to sending it to them. So
Excellent. Do you have like a website or anything that has that?
I don't have it up on
Quickly.
my website, but I'm
Okay.
happy to email it to anyone who would like to have it.
Would you like to share your email for that?
Sure. It's info at, it's long, InEssence Virtual Assistance.com.
I might have you go in the notes and update that in case I butchered it wrong, because I'm probably not the best at
Here,
yeah,
I'll
because
do it. Yeah.
I'm not the best I do typos. So thank you. So it's in
There you go.
so info, thank you, at info InEssence Virtual Assistance.com. So yeah, so definitely go and reach out to Nanette. She's wonderful. She spoke at our summit back in November and did a fantastic job and really engaged with our audience. And I hope she gave you some really good, valuable tips for today. Oh my gosh, we really appreciate you doing that for helping us grow ourselves and our business, especially our mindset. And,
Right.
and I keep always saying that the mindset's the most important because everything else will fall into place.
Mhm.
Because you can line everything up to help you work it. But once you have your mindset worked on, that it's a mindset, it's part of your inner you. So you whatever's going on the inside, it's going to reflect on the outside. I say that all the time. So
Right.
once you get your mindset right, everything else, like I said, will fall into place. So, oh my gosh, so super important and crucial about developing our mindset. So thank you for bringing that to our podcast today. And our topic was really about developing a growth mindset. And since that's really aligns with my word for the year, which is growth, it was perfect because we're still in February. We still have at least 9 months left and nine and
Yeah.
a half left of the year. And so there's no reason why we can't at least grow. And here's something to think about on that. Even incremental growth is better than large chunks and then falling back. So keep
Mhm.
that in mind. Even if I've been doing incremental growth for the last 3 or 4 years. And I
Right.
started at $37 in 2017 as my first income. It was just
Mm.
enough to get me realizing, oh, I can actually do this. It gave me
Right.
hope. And then the following year was over $800, and then it was over $1,200 for the third year, and now it was over 3,000 in 2021. So it's been incremental growth, but
Right.
without giving you the exact numbers, but that's just an example. Incremental growth is okay. It means you're figuring out the process, and then you've got things. And when you see the difference of I grew a third of more of what I did before. So I
Mhm.
like basically 3 times the growth from the previous year. So the goal is that you have to make sure you understand mentally that incremental growth is okay. And
Yes.
it just means that you're figuring out the process and then you're clearly making progress. So I always say progress versus perfection because
Right.
you're not trying to be perfect, but you're
Right.
trying to get the process figured out. And it's going to be ugly and messy at times, and it's not always going to look pretty. But let me tell you, when it is figured out, you're going to really appreciate and understanding that process. And once you do that, it's like teaching someone to fish. It's going to make
Right.
it so much better. So thank you for sharing about that development. Growth mindset, not something I usually dive into in the conclusion, but I really wanted to hone in on that point for people. So please take advantage of a discovery call with her, right? So you go to
Mhm.
InEssence Consultation.as like as.me. And then you will be able to take advantage of that free gift as well. And it'll be worth it your time. It'll be like the best time investment in your business. So please check it out. And it's great at marketing and at mindset. And that's why she's on my show. That's part of my name of my show. So anyway, let's face it, those match made in heaven. So anyway, long story short, don't forget to check out our merchandise, which is over at our Marketing Mindset Mastery Shop. Oh my gosh, I have too many words that are so similar. It's like a tongue twister. So bear with me. Yeah, like I said, if you're not laughing at least once during my show, check your pulse. But anyway, long story short, we have a back to school backpack special for the whole school year, 2021 and 2022 school year. And we'll probably most likely bring it back with some perks for next year. But for every backpack that we sell, a lucky teacher is going to, in the US, is going to get a $5 gift card towards their classroom supplies. That's how we want to give back to the community. And oh my gosh, they're only $45, so that's not bad for a backpack, and they're cute. They got the logo and everything, which actually is going to be updated pretty soon. I've got to make a few fixes. It's going to be ready and available as soon as I get the the payment method updated, because we're switching from PayPal to Stripe. So I got to update that process, and I just literally had to finish making a few tweaks on that. So we finally got that ready. We're going to get that ready and up and launched this coming week. So you should be able to start buying the backpacks. And I'm sorry we had a little delay for a while, but there are some things behind there which will be a topic for private discussion. I cannot do that publicly. So anyway, but long story short, thank you so much for being here, Nanette. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Oh my gosh, join us next week for some great tips, ideas, and how to make your marketing and mindset work for you. Our guests will show us and be providing more tips on how to set up your business for success. We stream every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and actually we are not doing it live. We are pre-recording everything just before flexibility in our schedules, but we will post them around 11 o'clock or shortly thereafter. And then we'll be right here on the YouTube channel. And don't forget to make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that notification button so you don't miss another show. So until next time, this is Marie Mason, the host, and our guest Nanette. And
Thelemaque?
Thank you. I was getting tongue-tied again. Oh my gosh, too many tongue twisters today. And but we're saying goodbye for now for the Marketing Mindset Mastery podcast. That ends this week's show. So bye and have a great week.